So couple different points about water. There's the whole aquifer issue about drawing too much water for drinking purposes, over irrigating in places that, like Florida, that we have yards that really aren't what should be here. But then I think also where you were heading, the issue about the chemicals that are used, the fertilizer, the pesticides, but in particular in terms of thinking about red tide with the fertilizers, and so the impacts that has on not just the terrestrial environment, but in particular the Gulf. It's fleshed out some, I'm not suggesting that the solution to pollution is dilution, and so that we don't hear about it as much in the Atlantic side because it does get flushed out more, but definitely the Gulf, it's a perennial problem. And so it's easy to pick on certain industries, but if you really want to talk about it, we have to all look in the mirror, right? Because it's an individual homeowner issue too.
Speaking of individual responsibility, I'm wondering why there isn't more emphasis placed on the effect of the American diet on climate change. And individuals can reduce the amount of dairy they consume, they can reduce the amount of red meat they consume, but I'm not reading a lot about any encouragement in that direction. And I'm wondering, is it political?
Yes. You can have a bigger impact on climate by changing your diet than moving from a Hummer to a Prius, which is pretty amazing. But you don't have to go 100%. Right? You don't have to go from every day to never. Right? It's like everything in life. It's about managing and spacing and still being relatively close to New Year's resolutions. And you don't have to say no to all desserts, just no to huge amounts of desserts. I think that to your question, it's partly a lack of understanding on the general public's part. Partly it is due to significant financial interest, in particular the fast food industry. I think it has, that's in the grand scheme of things a relatively recent development. It's sort of a post-World War II development, a little bit before World War II, but certainly the prevalence of it post-World War II and this idea of convenience and bit of a misnomer sometimes, but there are a variety of factors. I think that there's not a silver bullet in thinking about what we as individuals can do. But again, to go back to the connection to solar, and as we do what Mary and her group have done and band with others that have similar interests, those voices get multiplied. And so, in particular, I think one area that would have maybe some strange bedfellows, politics can bring together strange bedfellows, is that over the last century, poultry, pork, I guess I'm not as familiar with the cattle, but I'm guessing that probably would be the case too. There's been a centralization there, big farming, big ag, right? And so I think there's some interesting alliances that could be formed between those that want to sort of de-emphasize meat consumption and those that want to build up the small farmer and have them have a fighting chance. There are some other environmental issues that we can talk about with, has anybody ever driven through North Carolina and went through seen a pig farm, and you see where they have to collect the pig waste, and every once in a while there's a big rain, and or a hurricane, and those then that's not contained, right? So you have literally a river of, you know what, that's flowing through. So there are other costs associated with this switch that we've made over the last 50, 80 years that we don't usually hear about unless there's some kind of weird event.
Is there any reason why co-ops would not work with changing neighborhoods over from septic to sewer?
Good idea. Very good idea.
So the Florida Department of Environmental
Stand up.
The Florida Department of Environmental Protection has specific focused priority areas where they're working to get houses and people to go into the septic and to either upgrade it to a higher than what it's treating now, because it treats less than 30% of the sewer issues. And there is actually an incentive, I think it's like a $10,000 that the state will put up. They've been having a lot of opposition from community organizations, some of the real estate organizations, some of the septic tank companies are not wanting to do this, and then of course the expense for each homeowner. So in the West Orange County over here by the Wekiva and all that would be, I would love to look into working on ways to get community education about that. The Department of Environmental Protection and the cities and the local governments have what's called a basin management action plan, and they've thought through a lot of this. Now it's just actually getting it out there and executing it and getting people to turn it over. And they've had meetings, but they haven't been well attended. I know there was one in Apopka, and there was probably 40 people, and we had one in Altamont, and there was about 100 people. But we have over 60,000 septic tanks in the Wekiva Basin alone.
Hey, just to give a little bit of context for what I'm about to say, I was a bunch of standard per se. I just finished 2 years on the Vito City Council, and it costs $22,000 to $28,000 per household to convert from a septic tank to sewer because of ripping up roads and all this stuff. Once you do that, then you're telling a person who has $0 per month as the sewage bill that now they're going to have a bill of $55 a month. So not only is it $28,000, it's $700 per year indefinitely. So this is going to get pushed back galore. I'm on a septic tank. If somebody said, do you want to do a co-op so you can pay $42,000 to run the line down, that's a hard sell because you never recoup it, unlike solar where you get something back. The other thing I wanted to make sure you guys are aware of is 1,000 Friends of Florida on February 20th is talking about what you just mentioned in St. Augustine, which is sea level rise. For anybody interested in advocacy with elected officials, you've got to use words that will not scare them away. This has been approved for continuing education for planners and I think it's architects. They're working on it for attorneys, so this is going to be a very intense 90-minute free class. So if anybody needs some context, jump on 1,000 Friends of Florida. I think it's going to be really excellent to talk about the context of why we should care about sea level rise with historic preservation coming in and the economic impacts. Because people want to know, how is the money going to change when the sea level rises if we are not prepared? Because if it, you talk about it rising, and okay, so I'll give this back.
Actually, Miami Beach has spent $500 million on raising their streets a couple feet and putting in a pumping system system to extract the tidewaters. And they expect that to last them about 30 years before that system is no longer
They also don't know how.
Well, okay, because it's Val, we'll take one more question.
Oh, it's so nice to know people in high places. Just to your point, yeah, it's expensive, but those septic tanks all over this state are leaching into our drinking water in the aquifer. So the question becomes, do you want clean water to drink, or do you want to pay to get rid of that septic?
Good point.
And it's only going to get more expensive.
Well, doesn't the city help at all?
No.
None of the,
No.
It's
No.
all on the homeowners.
Well, everybody's
Okay, I think we're gonna have to
Well,
continue
yeah,
the
that's okay.
discussions after lunch. I hate being the